nice little couch here.
Yes, we are. It's gonna be very sexy.
You have my
Connection
my
going on.
consent.
Alrighty. Let me just make sure that this is coming through live and clear. Let me test this.
What's that song? It's a real song, I
Testing
promise.
testicles 1 2 3. Yeah.
Working. We're vibing. I look like
All right. We
some
look good.
kind of ghost.
We got the
Realist
chocolate
rosé.
noobs in the house and the sexy Twitch gamer girl. I'm very new.
Stop it. I'm not a Twitch gamer girl.
Yeah, you
I just want to say to chat that I won't be able to respond lots because we're doing this, but hopefully they understand for today.
All right.
We'll make it work. We're gonna make it work. I'm a hot mess at the moment. Oh my gosh.
Come shimmy up.
Oh,
Ooh, I feel special. I feel like one of those rock stars because I got a hot girl next to me now. All right.
excuse me. I'm more than my body.
Yeah, I know. I'll try not to be shallow, but I'm gonna have to work on it. I am a very shallow person, but I'm also very conscious and full of amazing rants. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world, we got a very special guest today. We have Sabrina,
Rare.
aka Felix X-Ray. That's what you call yourself, right? Felix
I call
X-Ray.
myself all kinds of things.
Yeah, call yourself dollface, sexy girl,
Oh,
gamer girl,
Stop it.
Felix X-Ray.
Stop it.
You are very famous, it seems, on the Twitch.
I'm not.
I was checking you out just a while ago, and you had all these guys that were checking you out,
Were you
asking all
jealous?
these questions. I was intrigued. I'm not a jealous type.
Okay.
I'm not a jealous type. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something different. Usually, I speak about consciousness. I talk about the truth movement. I speak about spirituality, quantum mechanics. But I want to speak about another passion of mine. Yeah, you are my passion, Sabrina. I want to speak about you, but I also wanted to speak about gaming. I wanted to speak about society and all the cool things that you are involved in. Sabrina, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? But before I do that, ladies and gentlemen,
but I'm going to get shy.
freaks and geeks, be sure to like this video, subscribe, tell your mom, tell your friends, drop us the comments, let us know what it is, and yeah, follow this beautiful thing right here on Twitch. How do people get a hold of you?
I have no words. I'm still processing what you said.
All right,
We're on Twitch, Velixray, Velixray, and you can come say hello anytime. We're open to all people, no matter your religion, your sexuality, your ideas, your beliefs. Come and talk to us about them and vibe. As long as you're a kind person, we're open to it.
All right.
100%.
Well, let's begin this journey with perhaps our relationship, how I know you, because I know you from...
Is this a drink when we talk about?
I know you from a very powerful medium that I like to refer to as Tinder. And yeah, it's funny. Like I was actually taken aback because you super like me. Put you on the spot here.
Did I?
Yeah, I didn't even realize girls do super like. So I was like,
it must have been an accident. It was an accident.
That's what they always say, but deep down they're like, girls are so weird whenever they're on Tinder. They're like, oh my, I never use Tinder, but I just delete it all the time. But let's be honest, we all use Tinder. It's the 21st century.
I haven't since you put me off Tinder.
I put you on Tinder.
That was a long time ago. That was 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, and you've changed. Now you're the gamer girl. It's like, you're doing all of these things in the world of social media now.
It's amazing to see. I don't consider myself a gamer girl at all, but it is amazing to see how you meet someone and how much you spend time away from them and just how different they are and how much they grow and change and develop and just blossom into beautiful humans during that time of disconnect isn't the word, but the time when you're not together or you're not seeing them. I think that's awesome. Even looking back at school friends and just going, wow, I would have never thought that, or I 100% knew that from the get-go. Awesome. So cool.
Yeah. Do you get nostalgic? Like, do you look at, people that you haven't spoken to in a long time, and you're like, oh wow, they're making lots of money now. I wanna get in touch with them because you randomly,
Making money?
yeah.
No.
Because
Sometimes I'm like, damn, he's fine.
okay, because I've noticed a lot of girls do this thing where they leave your sphere, right, and then they see you're doing really well, and then they get in touch with you, and they're like, oh, I heard you're doing big things now. I've heard this is the case. Have you ever done that with some of the boys that you found on Tinder and whatnot? Like you dump them and then you find out they're making lots of money and you
Never.
send them
Money
slide in their
doesn't
DMs.
attract me. I think.
How unfeminine of you.
How dare you?
What does attract you, Sabrina?
I was
You have
talking about this
interesting
earlier
so
today.
you have interesting taste.
Yeah.
Obviously
I don't
good
know what
taste,
I don't know.
because you super like me.
You're gonna keep throwing me off. I'm gonna keep having those
I like
mental
putting people on
blanks.
the spot. She had no idea I was going to bring this stuff up. She thought we were going to have a deep conversation about
meaning
society and mental health, and
and
here I am being,
spirituality. I was
yeah.
even telling my friends, I'm like, this guy is so spiritual, cool. We're going to talk about veganism. We're going to talk about COVID. We're
No,
going to
I'm
talk
shallow.
about
I want to
society,
talk
governments.
about
But no,
sex,
we're
drugs, and
getting
rock
our
and roll.
basics on. It's really weird. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, what is it that makes me attracted to someone? Because when I look at the timeline of my ex-boyfriends, they're all quite different from each other.
Hmm.
Never make the same mistake twice unless he's hot. But you look over it and just go like, what is it? What is the type? What is the something that attracts me? Because usually what we find attractive is in line with our
Can we
morals.
get closer to the? I want everyone to get an intimate experience here, so I'm just going to shimmy this up.
Okay, we're shimmying.
All right.
Isn't shimmy this thing?
Okay. That's better. All right. So yeah, usually you don't make the same mistake twice unless they got beautiful chocolate smiles.
It's called being cultured. Okay.
Okay. But sorry, go on. Sorry.
So I was really looking into it because I find that people are usually attracted to what their own values are. So somebody who is very attracted to glamorous and beautiful women is somebody who values in themselves usually looks as a trait. You can usually tell a lot about a person by what they're attracted to, and I couldn't work out what mine was, and I felt like learning what it is that I'm attracted to would help on some sort of like self-discovery, to work out who I am. And it's strange, it's hard to explain, so bear with me, okay?
Mhm.
I realized a lot of people are very nice and kind and lovely in the things that they say or the acts that they do purposefully. But there's some things that we do subconsciously. There's little things that we do without meaning to. And I explained this earlier today by noticing somebody smile at a puppy that's across the road. They might think that that's really beautiful or cute, or just have that sort of ability to empathize with the animal and enjoy that experience and the nature around them. And it's seen in that little smile. Now, nobody told them to do that smile. That smile doesn't help anyone. It doesn't benefit anyone. It's something that's happening subconsciously. And those things that happen subconsciously are the only truth in this world. They're the realest and the most pure truth of what a person is and who they are. And so those little micro expressions and moments that aren't planned, that's what I look for in a person, and that's what I find attractive, and that's how I see who a person is. Not from the shit they dribble.
That is so.
You are a smooth talker, but you got to work on those micros.
It's so true because on a subconscious level, it's kind of like we tend to manipulate situations. When guys are running game, they're thinking like, what can I say to make a girl find me attractive? How can I elicit this response? But there are certain things that you can't control. Like on the deepest level, like they're supposed to be these brains. They speak about this in psychology, like your frontal lobe, the neocortex, and then the mammalian brain, and then the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain relates to things that you cannot control. It's kind of more subconscious. It's like, you have this innate inclination to act and do certain things, and you just can't avoid expressing that. Even the very act of trying to avoid showing that manifests itself in tells. And these are the things that I find, like, when you actually look at what it is that you're finding attractive, like, they give you a greater insight into who someone is. And these are the things that I find I'm very attracted to, like, not what someone is saying per se, but the things that they're expressing on that kind of like reptilian part of themselves, like the way that they move or the micro gestures. And this is when you get out of like the head, and you start, like, when someone kind of like reacts to a situation in a very
It's pure.
pure.
It's just so pure.
Absolutely. I very much resonate with that. Wow. It's funny because I remember one of the things that you told me when I first met you was that you're into you're sapiosexual, and you're only drawn to people that you develop some kind of strong mental connection with. Can you elaborate on that? Or
Yeah.
is that still a thing with you, or you're
Yeah.
just shallow like me?
Do I say that like I don't know if I have a type or something?
No,
but
no, you can
I'm
give your
not
type.
into
It's just
blonde guys.
very
That's
intellectual.
the
It's
thing,
kind
I
of,
know.
And I find that really weird because, that being said, you were also telling me that you were into chocolate
I
guys.
love it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, how does being a chocolate guy appeal to your sapiosexualness? Like, how does that? Seems like a conundrum.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I think that I have a need for information, and I have forever, and it's been part of my demise, really. Just needing to know more and more instead of understanding that knowledge is limitless, so it goes forever. But when it comes to people, I want as much of them as I can as fast as I can. I want to know who they are. I want to know where they've come from. I want to know what makes them cry, what makes them hurt. It feeds me. It grows that connection, and it turns me on. It's awesome. It's pure. It's without all the fluffery. It's without all the nonsense. It's without all the, it just skips so many levels. Do you know what I mean? And so it's not just about like I need an emotional connection with this person. It's I want trust. I want closeness. I want connection and bonding, and to love with my empathy, but I can't have empathy for something. Empathy is understanding, right? That's the definition, simply put. I can't have an understanding about something that won't explain itself to me. So I need that information to feel complete and whole and connected to that person. But it doesn't matter who that person is. It's about their willingness to divulge that. And a lot of that is in these micro expressions, because that's not false. That's true. And a lot of people will dribble that nonsense to fill the narrative and satisfy that craving that I have. And I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in that. I want deeper.
You want vulnerability.
More.
You want the real stuff. Yeah, I've
I want
noticed.
the real stuff and to completely not be vulnerable myself.
It's funny you say that, because I've noticed with all the sincerity I can muster, you're actually very soulful. Like, ever since I've known you, you're very open to expressing how you feel about things, even when you're not getting anything back. Like, you're very vulnerable, and you speak about how you actually appreciate when people are very much like that. But I think that's because you were very much like that yourself. I
That
think,
actually means a lot.
yeah, like
That means a lot.
I've started realizing this a lot lately. Like, I was actually stalking your social media a while back, and you had this quote that really very much embodied like your whole attitude. Like, it was kind of expressing this idea of essentially what you were saying, of wanting to experience the deepest aspect of someone, all of their flaws, and that when someone shows this to you, that you find yourself being more drawn to them. And I think I mean, I find that the most powerful thing that you can exhibit as a guy anyway is courage. But a lot of times people don't associate that with
Why as a
vulnerability.
guy?
I say this because it's just something that's been perpetuated throughout the years. I mean, only the brave deserve the fair. You find only the most bravest guys being the most successful people, getting the most beautiful woman, and so forth. And something that guys reinforce, but they tend to have this. Guys tend to have this male perspective towards courage in terms of like doing things like going and fighting in a war, or but they don't associate that with vulnerability in terms of laying.
Yeah.
But I think
And if we can pause on that, I think that is the most courageous thing. And that's something that I struggle with. Like I can say, oh my God, this is my life and this is everything and this is whatever.
mm,
And it looks vulnerable, but those aren't the things that are hurting me the most. Those aren't the things that are guarded, that are hidden, that are deep. Getting to those things and being able to express those things, the reason that we guard them is because it's so hard. It is so hard. It's not because we're strong, and we're led to believe as children, like, toughen up, princess, harden up, take a teaspoon of concrete, whatever, get over it. Everybody's had a hard life, or someone's got it worse, blah, blah, blah. And we're taught this resilience that we mistake for courage. It's not courage. It's not courageous to not allow yourself to feel the things that hurt you. It takes so much courage, so fucking much courage to just hurt and to just say, I'm hurt and this is why and this is what I feel. That is courageous as fuck. And now we've got like this pandemic's not the right word, but we have this generation of men and women. I don't want to gender stereotype, but I feel like traditions have meant that there are more men who are feeling this way or acting this way, or maybe on a testosterone level, why they're displaying this more, but who are like, I am courageous because I don't give a fuck. And that's not courageous. There is nothing courageous about that. Give a fuck more. That's courageous.
absolutely. I feel like there is this thing within the 21st century man that being cool is about not showing your feelings and acting detached. I remember having this conversation with a guy, 10 years ago, very immature mindset. And he said that, the coolest thing you can do when you're talking to a girl is just not be responsive, like don't get excited. Like you're too excitable, Christian. You're always getting excited about stuff. You got to just learn to be not phased by anything. And I'm like, yeah, I got to be like that. I mean, I call myself Christian, but I'm kind of like, yo, man, what's up? But to me, I think the most beautiful thing you can do and the most courageous thing you can do is to feel things deeply, And I feel like we're in this society where a lot of guys don't want to be hurt because granted, like a lot of women like yourself say that they want men to be soulful and want them to be vulnerable, but when guys do open up and do actually show how they feel, they often get rejected, they often get hurt. So they shroud themselves like I heard this a while ago, that in the same way that women are very protective over their virginity, or they or give, not necessarily virginity, but they don't give it up on the first date, that kind of stuff, because they feel like if they do and the guy doesn't respond to their text message the next day, they feel hurt. Guys are very much like that when it comes to opening up with other aspects of who they are, like how they feel about you, or how they feel about not their guys are very open when it comes to the physical component, but on an emotional level, it takes more time for them to open up. Whereas I think it's kind of like reverse with like women typically, and I don't want to generalize here, but they tend to be the ones that err on the side of caution when it comes to giving up because they don't want to be hurt in that sense. But I find a lot of guys don't open up because they fear what happens when they do, and they get told that they're pussies and they're too sensitive. And we live in this world where on one side we're being told that toxic masculinity, you're being too rigid and strong, but then from your male friends you get told that you're being a pussy when you talk about the fact that you feel this way, the fact that I had a friend of mine tell me a while ago, I was relating to him.
Oh,
Let me
we're falling. We're falling.
this is what happens when you have a crazy setup here. But let me just finish this point and I'll fix this up. I was just gonna say I had a friend that told me I was being a fool when I cried in front of my ex. You know, what you do that for? You know, like you should never ever cry in front of a girl. That's like the dumbest thing you could do. That's like, what did he call it? Call me a simp. And I'm like, well, no, man, that's like being real. You know, I mean, I'm not the guy. I don't cry often. You know, but when it's an emotional thing, you know, and when someone really cuts you deep, I think it's kind of like the most vulnerable thing you can do is to actually show how you feel rather than being like, oh yeah, I don't have any feelings. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm. All right, let me process that. I think that your friend who um, was using these fantastic, the linguist friend that you have, who's obviously vocabulary was just incredibly elaborate. He had some great words, right? I think that he was reiterating beliefs that he'd been instilled into him, that had been instilled into him, and that he didn't really understand either, probably to elicit a response and see if they were right or if they were wrong. I think those are teaching moments. I think when someone's able to stand up for themselves and say, no, I was feeling, and this is what it is, that hopefully has a domino effect to share the message that it's okay.
But let me ask you this: do you find yourself being less attracted to guys, or maybe not you, because I know you tend to be more soulful like that? But do you think it is a thing where girls find themselves being less attracted to guys when they cry and when they open up? Because I heard Amber Heard. I remember one of the things that she said in the whole deposition, or the whole court
I
case.
didn't
That
follow
really,
that
all
very
right. Well,
well.
there are a lot
So
of things that happen, right? But one of the things that really like just made me like so disgusted in her was when she was describing when Johnny Depp was crying in a situation, and she was talking about how she'd never like it's such a gross thing to see a guy crying, it's so disgusting. And I'm here thinking to myself,
I think to
what
say
is wrong
it's
with you, woman?
disgusting to see anyone cry is not okay. I think that's horrible.
But the thing is, it's like it's subconscious, right? It's what in the same way that attraction's not a choice. Like if a woman is just it's not like she chooses to find you disgusting, but she finds it disgusting when a guy is crying, and guys know that this is something that's going to happen. Then is it just not sensible for a guy not to show their emotions, knowing that this is going to make girls unattracted to them?
No, I think that um, I think that there's a lot of people in this world who've not been heard and who've not been able to express their emotions and feel safe in doing so. And so when the lid has come off now, I think we find a lot of people that, just like I was saying before, right? All of me is coming out. And that amount of me wouldn't normally be that amount of like, no, this is how things are. This is the truth. This is what it is. I'm free. I'm everything. All of that coming out at once regularly, it wouldn't be like that. I would still have all those morals. I'd still be like, this is my truth. I'm free, but it wouldn't be as loud. And I think when we've got generations of men and boys who've been told you're not allowed to feel, and then we're taking that lid off, we've got a lot of emotions coming out. And I think that it can be overwhelming for the people in anyone's life who is experiencing a person and all of their emotions when it's at a time that their floodgates are opening. I think that can be a lot. And I think in any relationship, in any breakdown, in any family argument, it's one of those times usually where the floodgates are opening and there's just an excess amount of emotion that doesn't know how to settle itself, to sink, to align, to flow. It only knows how to rush. And sometimes the people around us drown in that. They don't know how to swim. They don't know how to deal with that or what to do or what's right, and at the same time have their own emotional responses, and it can end up two people unable to swim drowning together. I
Sure.
don't think that it's like a you're crying and I'm a girl and you're a boy, so I'm unattracted to you. I think we've taken the lid off in the last few years, and a lot of emotions and intergenerational trauma, so passed down trauma, is opening, and it's a lot. It's just a lot that's going on. Moments of change for the world are heavy, and I think that's what that is. I don't think that it's that men crying is an unattractive quality. I do think men generally um, cry less than women. They're known to be less emotional creatures,
Sure.
but it's just a floodgate at the moment.
I think the idea is that classically, when it comes to gender roles, like typically speaking, the man's supposed to be the guy to hold things down and be focused and
Grounding.
logical and grounded. And because this is the layout that has been created for males, a lot of guys feel like when they're losing it, they're not keeping it emotionally together, that they're not being masculine. Um, but let me ask you this.
Sorry,
Clear,
I will speak louder. I didn't know I wasn't speaking loud enough.
yeah, it's because they can't pick you up with the
Oh, it's
wireless
because it's
headset. Yeah,
that one. Okay, sure.
sure. Okay, so clearly there is this pandemic of emotional sensitivity. I think when it comes to EQ, there seems to be a massive disconnect in the 21st century. Do you think it's something that's getting worse? Like it's been getting worse over the last few decades, because what I'm saying, just based off of social interactions and so forth, I mean, particularly over the last few years, where kids are going to school and not even able to read the facial gestures of their students and so forth because they're wearing
Yeah,
masks
this
and
is
so
what
forth.
I was
I
talking to you
think,
about. Yeah.
how is this going to impact the future generation? Because we have this idea that things always get better in terms of technology. That's generally the case, Moore's law. In terms of architecture, but not really. I mean, but even in the realm of technology, I mean, granted, if maybe hearing Elon Musk speak about this, like typically you see technology getting better when we push things, but when we're
So what
not,
is
like,
better? What is
better
better?
as in, it's, I guess it's
What, we
subjective,
made a
but more
new fucking
sophisticated,
plane,
more.
but when it comes to human connection, when it
Sure,
comes to bonding, is it better?
sure.
Better is such a open word.
Well, it's
It can
measurable in
have
terms of
more
technology.
RGB. It doesn't
Sure.
mean that it's going to
But
work
in
better.
terms of like emotional connection, like let's
Yeah.
just look at that metric. That deals with communication, like how effective we are at understanding each other and understanding ourselves, self-actualization, but also empathy. Do you find that that is something that's becoming more pronounced within the generations,
Empathy
or
becoming more
becoming less?
pronounced
Yeah.
as far as technology, or
Well,
separate
just
from that?
well, in general, like, do you think? Oh, here we go again. I gotta get myself a new device here.
To
All
hold
right.
it better. What if we put it up
Maybe
against there?
I'll just put this here. Got an impromptu setting going on here.
It
Oh
just
wait, I
wants
gotta put it.
different crucial POV.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got
Oh
this. A little
yeah. You
information from
forgot to say
the
boom
chocolate news.
shakalaka at the
Boom
start.
shakalaka. All right, ladies and gents, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. All right. So yeah, what was I asking you?
Empathy,
Empathy.
empathy.
Are we getting more or less of that?
Hmm. Different avenues of empathy. I think. I don't think empathy is ever more or less. Um, I think empathy is a constant. I think it's a constant and at a constant amount, but it's been misdirected in the past. And in the past, we didn't believe it to be misdirected. And now, what we're empathetic about, or what we're acting on, or the clauses that we're hoping to, or messages we're hoping to share with the world, we don't believe are wrong. But in 100 years from now, we may look back and say they were. Do you know what I mean? I think there's, how can we say this? Okay, so years ago, we were very empathetic to the fact that, or what was the word? Years ago, we had an understanding that our way of caring and loving a baby, the thing that was best for them
Mhm.
would be breast milk over anything, right?
Okay.
So we did anything that we could to ensure that. And anything else was rejected as not okay. And now we have an understanding and an empathy towards people who are unable to breastfeed, and we see ourselves opening up and saying, no, don't discriminate against formula feeding, don't do this, don't do that. And that comes from a place of empathy as well. And it's a completely opposite message, but well, it's feed your baby, but it's an opposite way of directing our empathy and love and care, but it's not a higher amount or a lower amount. And I think that love, care, empathy, compassion, it's always a constant. I don't think at any time in the history of the world there has been an influx more or less of that. I believe that it's constant, but I think it's gone in different ways. It's expressed in different ways
If we're
by what
looking
we
at
believe
empathy,
is right at the
because
time.
maybe I have a different understanding of this, but empathy is just being able to understand what someone else is going through. Like you not just understand it, but you experience that pain as if it was your own.
Yes.
I don't necessarily see that as moving anything forward. Like when you have a deep, for instance, if I have an understanding of what it's like to be so crazy that I do something stupid, like beat the shit out of someone, because some shit's been happened to me, right? I empathize with someone that does something horrible. It doesn't, in my mind, like people having that understanding, empathy, having that great empathy, moved us towards benefiting society necessarily. Correct me if I'm wrong, because like, how do you see empathy moving us forward?
I think empathy is the only thing that moves us forward.
Because in terms of understanding what someone else is feeling, I mean, does that improve
Every
our ability to deal
policy,
with?
every
Yeah,
law, every action is built on empathy. Every single thing that we do, the foundation is empathy.
sure, but by us having empathy, so by me understanding what it's like to get so mad that I would beat the shit out of someone, how is that going to move society forward? And I'm playing devil's advocate here, because whereas I think understandably, I
Because you're
think
not, empathy isn't saying, I understand that you're so angry and it made you hurt someone. That's not empathy. Empathy is understanding this person's done something because they have an emotion under there, and what is that emotion and how can we help that? It's
sure,
not about the act goes. Does that make sense? It's
sure,
all about the feeling. It's only about the feeling.
sure.
Empathy takes away the action and sees only the emotion.
Sure. And I think practically, in terms of mental health, which I know is a big thing for you, I think when we have a deeper understanding of what other people are going through, we can better structure a society to cater towards people that are dealing with those problems. If you don't understand or empathize with what someone is going through, then it's hard to implement solutions. So obviously, even though I was kind of phrasing that question, I understand in terms of mental health, in terms of and I guess mental health affects so many aspects of society, because when people aren't healthy in their mentality, then they're not effective in the output. I think we lose a lot of productivity in terms of technology and all these other areas of art and so forth when we don't have a mentally strong society because of the lack of empathy.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
hey, let's move on to some juicy stuff,
Juicy
Sabrina.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll
I
perk up
haven't
now.
seen you in a long time, all right?
A very
And
long
we
time.
reconnected, and I hear you're doing big things. You're this Twitch gamer girl,
I'm not a
and
Twitch gamer girl. I'm
yeah,
really not. I
you've been
don't do that. Like,
okay. Well, you're very spontaneous.
I am
You
spontaneous.
you propositioned me just a while ago. Hold your horses. Not that kind of proposition. As much as I'd be obliged, right? However, you
Sexual.
all right. So you're like, hey, let's go to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Wow, who does like
I do that.
Yeah, I
Do you
thought only
know
rock
why?
stars do that kind of stuff. Like she literally offered to pay for my flight as well. How crazy is that?
It's
That I mean, is this the new you? Like you just spontaneously like I'm going to Vegas. All my friends are coming with me. I'm paying for their flights. Like, what inspired that, and why is it that you are that kind? I don't remember you being this kind of person to just jet set off
impulsivity.
and
The world is
fly
a
people.
fucking boring place.
Okay,
It's boring as long as you allow it to be boring.
true.
And if you don't allow it to be boring, it's a fucking beautiful place. And so I want to live in that beauty, and I think that beauty is spontaneity. It's saying, what could make this moment fun? What could we do now that if we didn't wake up in a week from now, we would be happy that we did. Does that make
Absolutely,
sense? Like
it
you could
does.
get that guitar right now and you could just start singing, Krishal. You could just start breaking
Yeah.
into song, or you couldn't.
That's true. And look, I'm the kind of person that always errs on the side of passion. Like, if anyone knows me, they know me to be spontaneous, doing random things. But I also try to, like, you obviously have goals. You obviously have things that you want to achieve. And
Yes.
you have to, I mean, the
You
whole
have to rein
idea,
it in. You can't just constantly
yeah,
um
we have to make sacrifices on some level if we can achieve our goals, right? Like, be great if I could just not go to work and just do fun things all the time. But I think we often have to do things that we
balance.
don't want to do before we can do what we want to do. And
Yeah,
as a
but
result, a lot of people feel like they need to sacrifice their immediate, spontaneous pursuits in order to achieve goals. But
I
I
think that's how they end up losing themselves. I think that's how they end up and losing the passion that's actually driving those goals. Because when we have a goal, it's something that we're excited about, that we're motivated, that we're passionate, and we do A, B, C, like everybody tells us to do,
mhm.
and we get bored. That passion starts to leave us. It just falls out of us. But if we can still keep balance by having ourselves, by going, this is what I want to do, and does it mean that I can't put in 7 hours of extra work tonight? Yes. But it also means that it's self love.
Mhm.
Self love is not a fucking candle and a bath and a nap. That is not self love and self care. Self love and self care is being you and doing you and letting yourself go, you know what? I can do that, and it's not going to ruin my whole entire life and every other goal that I have. I can still have those goals while being me and doing me.
Well, here's the challenge, because I know you're someone that you have responsibilities, right? Because
I
this is what
do.
most of us face. Like, you're a hell, you're a sugar mama. You have kids, right? Beautiful kids, and
I have
obviously they
beautiful
become,
kids.
yes, they become your world.
Yes.
I have this idea that once you have kids, it's one of the reasons why I'm bachelor over here doing the whole, taking care of myself, focused on my own
Never
dream.
wanted kids. Do you still
Well,
not want kids?
look, let me make this point first,
Because
right?
I'm about to expire.
Well, look, when it comes to bringing children into this world, there's a lot of shit going on in this world, and
There
it's
is.
not until I'm in a situation where not only I'm ready, but the entire world is ready. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, And I mean, still, I mean, I think we have this idea that we have to do things right now, that we don't have time, and it's kind of funny because that's what you're alluding to. But you do have
You
to
have
structure.
time.
Yeah,
You do
yeah, we,
have
we got to
time.
structure. But I wanted to ask you this. So, obviously, you have responsibilities. Do you ever feel as if by focusing on yourself that you're being selfish and you're not giving the right amount of attention towards?
No.
No.
I do not believe that, because I know that I spent hardly any time on myself to begin
Okay.
with. So like even being here now, this is probably my second time out in a year.
You did have to make a big
Um,
sacrifice. You had to get a babysitter and everything. So I appreciate that.
no, but
Yeah.
it's everything that you can tell a child or even someone you love to do something a million times. They'll never learn it as fast as they will from learning what you're doing. And I want my children to grow up knowing that it's okay for them to be themselves, to take time to themselves, to surround themselves with people who care about them, to have deep conversations and recognize that in those conversations they don't have all the answers, and that in a month their opinions may be completely different, and to just be themselves, just feel themselves, become themselves, take time, take care of themselves. All of those things that I'm doing now, I want them to see and do that too. So when I take time for myself, do I feel selfish? Fuck no. I feel
Mm,
proud. I feel proud. And
absolutely. And can I just make the point that kids are very intuitive and they'll often take note of not just what you're saying, in fact, more so what you're doing and how you're feeling. And if they see a mother that's doing amazing things, living her dream, they're going to be influenced by that. I
yes,
think one of the most powerful things you can do is focus on being the best that you can be. And so, whereas a lot of people look at that as being selfish, by living your life, living your best life, you're actually giving people permission to live their
their
best life.
best life. And
So it's
being
the
honest
inspirational, yeah.
about the fact that it is the best that you're doing the best that you can at that moment. I think that's really important.
Hmm.
Not to put this facade on, um, especially to your children, that things are perfect and things are fine and that you're always happy. Um, to be just you so that they feel able to completely be themselves too. Safe to hurt, safe to feel, safe to smile, safe to laugh, safe to have time alone, safe to anything. Just
Mm.
just really being as raw you as possible with your children, as long as it's of course keeping them safe and age appropriate and everything like that. I think that's so important. I think that's missing, but I don't think it's missing because of a lack of love. I think that we have so many parents out there coming home every single night stressed and bringing that energy into their households of just stress and tiredness and um, being overworked, and that has a negative impact, but they're doing it out of love. They're working so hard out of love for their children. Um, you can't be perfect.
Sure. Do you think being a mother, though, that's actually improved you in terms of your being able to fulfill your goals outside of your kids, and or do you feel, because one of the reservations I've always had is, because I see this around me, is when people have kids they don't have time to do anything. How can you focus on your career? But then I also hear the other perspective that when you have kids, because you have all these responsibilities, you force yourself to work harder. It's
Yes,
like you find if, in the same way that people say, if you want something
you
done,
get
give the
it.
job to a busy person, right? I
Yeah.
think when someone has children, this is the other perspective. They know it's do or die. I've heard so many stories of people having to really get their shit together because they have kids, and therefore they got to work more jobs, and they have to really dig deep to
I'll tell you, some of
what's your
my
experience
best
with, yeah.
employees have been
You have
mothers of
employees. You're,
5
you're a
children.
businesswoman. What is? We haven't even gone into that. What is it that you
Just
do,
don't worry about that
Sabrina?
for now. Just
Sabrina
don't worry about
X-ray,
that for now.
businesswoman.
But some of my best employees have been
Okay.
women with 5 kids. And how the hell they have time to work, I have no idea. But even when I say employees, like even say if hiring a cleaner, we could say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that the cleaner who's got 5 kids at home, I promise you, she's coming there for a 2-hour clean and your house is going to sparkle. Not only because she's had to clean up after 5 kids so she knows exactly what to do and how to get a job done, but because after that 2 hours is done, she needs to be finished because she needs to go and get other things done. This is a woman who's organized. This is a woman who's prepared. This is a woman who's woken up early. This is a woman um, who is not afraid of things getting hard. This is a
Mm-hmm.
powerful woman. There is something that comes of having children that it you give a lot to your children and a lot of that's time, and things do become more difficult with time management, and in
Mm-hmm.
those first few years, oh my gosh, you'll just find chunks of hair around your house.
Mm.
But
No sleep, right?
you're actually given so much through struggle. And I think we get most of the things that we get in life through struggle. most of our power
Mm.
through pain. There is a lot of struggle that comes with being a parent, but you get so much more. And on a business front, as you were saying, there are insights that you can't learn in textbooks.
Do you think this is related to being a mother, or do you find guys as well
Parents.
when they have kids? Because I think there is a slightly unique experience being a mother to, let's say, being a father. Like I think, and this is just obviously I have no reference point, but I know I think there is something different to having something growing, within you for 9 months. I think
Of course, there's
the bond
hormonal
there is
changes and things
absolutely,
with our body that
and
go on.
yeah, I mean, I guess it would be hard for me to get your input in that, because whereas you know what it's like being a mother, but you don't know. I presume, actually, I shouldn't just assume that you don't know what it's like being a father, because in this day and
Maybe I
age, you
am
can
a
be both.
father.
Yeah,
um,
perhaps you can be a mother and a father. You know.
I think that parenting
Mm.
makes women stronger and men gentler, and that both are beautiful.
I believe it makes them fierce in certain ways. Like I often hear about parents talking about how they want certain laws in place, right? Because they're concerned about their children, right?
Mm.
Because it's one thing when you're living your own life, you don't give a shit, right? But when you have, I hear this time and time again, like when you have kids, you start worrying about everything. It's like, I don't want some crazy person, driving around, that is drunk and then injuring my child. I don't
Mm.
want you guys walking around, not masked up and not having taken the boom shakalaka. That's what I call it, because
The
you
boom
can't
shakalaka.
talk about that stuff on YouTube unless you want to get taken off. But I often say, in fact, I said this in my book. Check it out, by the way. It's called Vegan Prince, Warrior King. What mother would not sacrifice the life of everyone around her to protect her child? Because there's this thing that there's this fierce determination to protect your child. Obviously, all parents have this, but you often find this situation where parents are willing to do even crazy things, right? Thinking it's love, right? But the thing is, they're jeopardizing or actively, infringing on everyone else's life in certain situations, right? Like there's situations where, okay, I want everyone in this country vaccinated, all right, taking the boom shakalaka, because I don't want the risk of my child getting infected. That's a common sentiment that I think a lot of parents would resonate with, right? Without even speaking about the, whether or not that's a good idea in terms of the science and whatnot. But that's a common theme I find within the parent dynamic. Like once you have kids, you become so, like, I look at it,
Protective.
yeah, as being this kind of sometimes irrational mindset where parents are willing to do, like, where I have a very freedom mindset in the world, right? It's like,
Yeah.
don't tread on my rights, okay? But I often hear parents making this argument in terms of safety, like what'll happen to the kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I need to protect them. I don't want to jeopardize the life of my children. Therefore, they don't care
It's
about your
coming from
rights.
a place of love. I think we need to recognize
You say
that.
love, I say fear.
Maybe fear as
Because
well.
fear and love are often very connected, right? Because often people
Yeah.
are so in love with someone that they fear losing them. To quote Sean Connery, "A man who fears nothing loves nothing, and what joy can bring a man when he loves nothing."
I
It's
think
this.
that all negative emotions come from a positive emotion. I think usually we're angry about something because something means so much to us and we care about something so deeply. I think that behind negativity is positivity, but negativity is louder. And I think parenthood makes people louder. I think all these beliefs that maybe they had or were there, and it might not be specific to the boom shakalaka, whatever you want to call it, okay? It might not be specific to that, but the moral to take care of something or do something um, or act proactively or care in such a way, it's there. I think it's already in these people, and I think that But being a parent and having someone else to love just amplifies that voice. It just gives them more of a reason to do something. If something's hurting us, we're more likely to shut off from it. But if something's hurting someone that we love, I think that's when we become most passionate and vocal. And that might be a partner, it might be our mother, it might be our son
Sure.
or our daughter.
Sure, I totally get that. In fact, I had this conversation with someone a while ago. They were making the point that often love is on the other side of fear. But here's the thing: what kind of love are we talking about here? Because the kind of love that is willing to say, "I care so much about my family, care so much about my child that I'm willing to go out and do horrible things to people." Right? I see that as a very dangerous kind of love. Like the different kinds of love I often refer to something called agape, right? Which is supposed to be this universal kind of love where, like, a lot of
Agape, doesn't
philosophers,
it mean love in Greek?
it's a different kind of love. Like, that's the thing,
Okay.
right? A lot of people think it because
This
I'm
person
gonna
said
drop.
something really funny. I need
All
to
right,
pause you. It
what?
says, "Can you say I love you really fast?" And it says, "I love you."
How's that funny? Am I missing
No,
something?
it's sweet. I feel like it's sweet.
Okay,
Okay,
all
sure.
right.
We go back. We go back.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about love, all right? Because everyone defines this in different ways. And look, I'm going to drop some knowledge here because I'm into
Okay,
my
do it.
philosophy and whatnot,
Do
right?
it, you
So
intellectual
we have
beast.
Plato talking about these kinds of love. Like one is called eros. This is the kind of love you're talking about. It's kind of like, yeah, I love you, baby. I want to get on with you. You know, that kind of like sexual carnal. How, yeah, I know you think it's crazy, but let's be honest. This is how most guys think. You know, when they say they love you, they're like, I just want to fuck her. You know. All right, but here,
Not.
well, that's the not
It's,
it's not necessarily just a sexual thing, but it's the romantic kind of love. It's kind of like, oh,
there
you're
is
so
nothing
beautiful.
romantic about what you just said.
All right, but okay, so it was like, oh, I love you, baby. I can't live my life without you. That kind of love, all right? That's
Okay.
okay. That's called eros, right? But then there is storge, which is supposed to be the filial, like family kind of love. Like you obviously aren't like, oh my god, I want to get it on with my sister or mother. That would
Well,
be weird.
Sigmund
Obviously,
Freud would disagree with you on that
fuck
one.
Sigmund Freud. It always relate everything to wanting to. Yeah, that stuff is just creepy shit. I'm not. Yeah, it's definitely not my case. All right. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different kind of love when you feel something for your family, right? But it's sometimes you can't stand them, but it's this strong. They say blood is thicker than water. Dropping some knowledge. The actual quote is the um, what's it called? The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It's actually making reference to the idea that your ideals are stronger than
I didn't
actual
know that.
family. Yeah, that a lot of people forget that. But look, we do understand that family love is a strong thing. Anyway, without going through all of the different loves, right? Agape is my favorite. You want to know why that's my favorite? I'm going to tell you why anyway. Because that's a love that's not limited to one person. Like, how fucked up is this? It's kind of like,
are we
I
going
love
into
you.
polyamory now? Is
Yeah,
that
we
what
are actually.
Oh,
I love you so much
okay.
that if you ever sleep with another guy, I'm gonna cut your dick off. Like if one of my
That
bros ever said that to me,
that
I'd
escalated.
be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? When I love my bros and they tell me they've been with, they meet some other guy, I'm like, bro, that's fucking cool. Granted, I do get a little jealous when they're not spending enough time with me, man. But when my bros are like, bro, man, I met this girl, bro, it's fucking awesome. Oh, freaking yeah. Tell me details, right? However, right, when it's someone you're romantically involved in, it's kind of like, do you have feelings for her? But what about me? That's a very possessive kind of love.
Fear of loss.
Absolutely. Agape is the kind of love where essentially you're casting a wider net. It's this love that you have. It's kind of like eros, storge, but you're extending this love towards everyone. It's not just limited to towards one person. It's referred like Martin Luther King would make reference to this in the the Civil Rights March. Like basically talk about how the union of all peoples. He'd speak about how black supremacy was just as bad as white supremacy because everyone's doing all these groups. It's kind of like team feminism, team human, team whatever it is, right? I think there's something beautiful about casting a wider net of compassion towards everyone and realizing that as long as one person suffers, everyone suffers, and this possessive love is only going to end up hurting you because unfortunately people
think
tend to move on, don't always work well together.
There's a difference between sexual monogamy and emotional monogamy. Words.
Emotional monogamy.
That's the one.
Monogamy.
I,
So I take it you're obviously not polyamorous. You're the kind of person that
I've
I want to
considered
be
it. I actually approached a partner, um,
guy or girl.
male.
Okay, that's enough. Are you are
Um,
you are you just into guys?
Emotionally, yes. Physically, I find women attractive, and I've been with women. But on an emotional level, I'm attracted to men.
That's so
So I
interesting because
don't think I could have a relationship with a woman.
that is so interesting because it's kind of like similar with me. It's kind of like emotionally I get along with guys, right? Like typically speaking, unless a girl has like I really like girls that are into guy stuff like gamer girls, you know, or girls that are into just saying, or girls that like, you kind of kick it with and talk about guy stuff. You don't have to be on eggshells.
Yo,
But
Nexus.
I'm, like no homo, but I'm not into guys. Like I mean, I think I like guys, but I'm not like it's not a sexual thing with me,
Yeah.
But I
Well,
typically
I don't know. Like mine's opposite. Like for women, it's a sexual thing, but I don't.
yeah.
I
So it is,
don't
it's
want to have a
opposite.
relationship with a woman. I don't want to come home to a wife. I don't.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
like everything that, and I know we're eliminating gender roles in 2022, but to me, what traditionally is a man
Mm-hmm.
is very sexy. So that it's big and it's bold and it's protective and it's safe, grounding. Those are all things that I'm greatly attracted to and that aren't in women. And I find everything that is manly attractive. Like women don't have hairy chests and beards and smell like sweat from
Speak for
work,
yourself.
and that's what I like. That's just everything that is man
I identify
is
as a woman.
beautiful
I'm
to
just
me.
saying, like I find that very offensive.
My
But
apologies.
no, I hear you, and it's called the alchemy of opposites, right? And typically, and I hate I don't want to generalize, but yes, typically you do find. Granted, I think when it comes to masculinity and femininity, it's not related specifically to men and women. They're archetypes, but in the same way that men are typically taller, right? But you do have some women that are taller. It's
Yeah,
kind of
there
like
are
that. When
some.
there are some women that are more masculine, that certainly have more balls in terms of the, not just the vulnerability card, but willing to go for things and put themselves at risk, right?
And there are a lot of men who have a lot more feminine qualities.
Absolutely.
And I find those men are not ones that I'm attracted to.
Yeah, but can I say, similarly, I find, and I would speak for, I feel like I can speak for most guys because I am a guy, right? It's kind of like what black people do. They always speak for other black people. And I find that so annoying. It's like, how dare you? Just because, like,
It's
black,
generalizing,
yeah,
but making it
absolutely.
okay
And I'm
because
like,
it's your
I feel less
group
black
of
when black
people.
people tell me that I should be offended when people, are racist towards me. Because that's been my biggest, like, I need to lose my black card. You can't offend me with racism. It's just never been a thing with me. My dad brought me up so I don't look at people in terms of race. Like, I'm not just saying that. I remember I used to pretend to get offended.
Understood it. I never
Yeah.
understood racism. It just doesn't. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Well, look, here's the
I
thing.
think it's just someone needing to hurt someone else and
Well,
feel
here's
good
the
about
thing, yo.
themselves.
I can drop some knowledge in this because I'm a black man, yo. I have black
Yo.
experience, yo. And look, black people get really defensive about this shit because I bring this up with them and they lose their mind over it. And the general thing is that when you see how things are going to affect you, like let's say someone is perceived. Let's say something happens to a black guy, right? Like let's say black guys are victimized. They're white people are saying negative things about them, right? When that idea is perpetuated within a community, you can see that affecting you because people are going to see you in the same way that they look at that black person. Like it's basically when like the problem arises because people start seeing themselves represented within a group. So if something happens to a group that you identify with,
personally, yeah,
yeah,
that's that's blaming the person for identifying as a victim. I don't know.
Well, but it's common. Like we all tend to generalize, right?
Yeah.
And there is truth to the fact that, yeah, look, this is just common sense. When police officers start treating people in a negative way that look like you and so forth, a lot of people get worried because they think that's going to happen to them. Like if you were seeing the kind of violence that we see in the United States perpetrated on young black kids and so forth, when you were on the street one day, that you're probably at some point going to be at the brunt of that.
So again, we're going down to fear.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's like so many negative emotions that they're just based on fear. So it's really about eradicating that fear then, isn't it?
But it's also discernment. It's the understanding that realistically, like statistically speaking, you're at more threat of experiencing something because of you're part of a demographic, obviously certain people will view you as
I think that demographic is the thing that needs to be removed. I don't think even I remember in Australia we had something called Black Deaths in Prison, and basically a group of people were ending their lives while in custody, and often they were in custody over short periods of time, and it was related to being confined and ancestral trauma.
Black people, right? And Aboriginals and so forth.
Yeah, and reliving that.
Why are you killing all that black people? Or Aboriginals don't sound like that, but
and refusing to be caged, to have their liberties taken away. And so as a result, if that were to happen, death often occurred, or suicide often occurred as a result of that. And so laws were put into place to say, if a person of this nationality commits X, Y, and Z crime, they're not to be detained, because this will happen. But that feeds into that racism, because that's still saying this group of people will be treated differently.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you understand that, because I see that as being the biggest problem. Because most people, when they make this argument, right, they always think in terms of few, like what's going to happen to the minority, the black people, if this stuff continues, because the argument is that there's this unconscious bias, right, that a lot of, let's say, police officers have towards black people because they seem more intimidating, whatever reason it might be, or whatever group it could be, right? And in order to protect these people, we need to have special laws. But by doing that, it's feeding into the very notion that you should be treating these people differently, right? Because look, let's face it, we all have different abilities, different looks, and so forth. But under the law, this is supposed to be at least the thing within Western society. We all have the same rights. Okay, that means that if I do something that's wrong and you do something that's wrong, regardless of whether or not you're 6 foot or you have a 7 or 10 inch long cock or something like that, you are still going to be treated equally.
How dare you call me out like that? I will tuck it into my sock. I'm sorry it slipped out.
It's not about race. It's about penis size, yo. But seriously, we don't discriminate.
Which is very much linked to race.
No, it's not. I'll have you like. You see, the most racist thing that ever happened to me in high school, I kind of digress of this, is everyone used to think that I was, obviously, biggest because I was black, right? And then this Greek guy was arguing with
this conversation become? Right. What is this conversation become? Everyone
seriously,
thought that I had a giant thing and I didn't.
Yeah, and I would play into it, I'd be like, yeah, mine's big. But this Greek guy would always be like, no, mine's bigger, but no one would believe him, right? And then one time, we went to the boys' toilets, and
what?
No, he was. I didn't want to have anything to do with this shit, It's kind of like I didn't want people seeing my stuff, because I had this one experience where this guy passed me, and he's like, oh, so it is a myth. And I was so fucking hurt by it. All right, but so I didn't want this guy to see it at all, right? But then he's like shinning up to me. I can't stop this guy. And I finally just had to look. He's like, what the fuck? And the worst thing about it, he was like,
imagine if women did that.
Well, guys do that a lot.
With the size of them.
Yeah. Anyway, check this out. So This guy had the balls after he, flopped this thing. It was ridiculous, right? It was at least 9, all right? Probably going 10. And this is, by the way, this is like year 9 or 10, okay? And then he's like, yours is bigger. No, but check this out. Then he told me mine was bigger, and it absolutely wasn't. It wasn't. It was like totally soft as well at the time. And I was so fucking pissed off, right? But then after that, we went back. We're having this argument.
This is on YouTube forever.
I don't care. I'm cool with this shit.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was so annoying because now all the debates, like he would constantly talk about how ridiculous it was, But then after this moment, I had to, because I was like a Boy Scout. I was like, yeah, Luke's is bigger, and and the thing is, none of the girls would believe him, but they all ended up going to check it out because Luke was relentless.
What do you mean the girls were checking it out?
Like
You were in high school.
Yeah, of course, Luke.
You are children.
His name, actually, I can't say his full name, but
send me his Snapchat. I'm joking.
But he would literally go to the bathrooms with these girls just to prove it because no one believed him. Because he would because it was like he would be constantly talking.
That did not happen in my high school.
I had a crazy
in Australia.
Oh, 100%. My form was the most
I'm
ridiculous.
Homeschooling. I am homeschooling.
I don't know how I got onto that topic.
We were
talking about racism, but of course I had to start talking about my penis because I'm such a silly person. But what was I talking about in regard? I was trying to make some salient point about how yes, we should all be judged by the content of our character, not by the size of our penis.
People by their ability to display empathy, not their ability to display what they're packing.
Absolutely, but in all honesty,
I'm gonna write a book.
When it comes to attraction, though, because attraction's not a choice. Like I get annoyed. I had someone tell me a while ago that it was not racist, not misogynistic, but they said it was homophobic. That's right, because I wasn't attracted to other men. Right?
That's weird. Can I be weird and take my shoes off?
You most certainly can. But I must warn you, I do have a foot fetish.
I'm gonna leave my shoes on.
Okay.
Yeah, actually?
Yeah, I do actually. But no, trust me, I'm cool. I had
someone lick my feet once, and I wasn't into it. Like the idea of the concept and tickle, I was about to kick them in the face, but.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, when you let people do things that you're not into, but you let them do it because it turns them on, when it's supposed to be something that's supposed to turn you on. It's weird. Like I'm sure. Like, are there other things that like guys are really into that you're not into? This is going down a whole new track. Supposed to be having an intellectual, soulful conversation.
Yeah, this is on YouTube for life, so I'm gonna answer that. I am a lady of God.
Spoken like a sophisticated lady.
I'm a lady of God. There aren't many. I think
you're how long have you been a God-fearing woman? I didn't know that was your thing.
It's not.
It's not. Okay. Well, let's get so. Oh, so you're atheist? What are your thoughts on the universe? Is it all chaos?
I am. The closest thing to what I am is universal Unitarianism.
Oh, we're going universal Unitarian. Let me see if I can take a guess what that is.
Do it.
You believe in all of the beings that make up this world being connected, all part of this collective experience, and we're all influencing each other. It's some kind of spiritual outlook.
Sort of. I believe that something exists.
Okay.
And I'm open to the constant journey of knowledge to take in any information about what that could be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not set in stone about anything.
Sure.
I also find religion to be a very strange thing because I think a lot of religion is this is how the world was created, and a lot of religion is this is a set of principles to live your life by. So I think those are two very, very, very different things that shouldn't be combined.
Yeah, I respect that.
So I'm open to. I'm not saying there is no God because I don't know that. And I'm not saying there is a God because I don't know that.
Well, how do you even define God? Because it's one thing to define it as some big
I don't know.
white guy in the sky, but if you're looking at the fact that you are, consciousness, like that force that is influencing things to grow and change, like there is some kind of
that could be a God. It could be a spiritual God. It could be an actual God. It could be anything.
Sure.
But
I think that's a thing.
Religion is that I don't know that. When it comes to principles for life, one of the things that I resonate with most is probably a lot of Hinduism. But when it comes to why the fuck are we here, I don't know. And I'm happy to say I don't know without rejecting absolutely everything or agreeing to absolutely everything. I think I don't know is one of the most important things that we need to learn to be able to say.
That was on the tip of my tongue, you know, like it's
What else
it's
is
the
on the
most
tip of your
humbling
tongue,
thing when I
Crystal?
hear someone that is incredibly knowledgeable say I don't know, because more often than not a lot of people that are in that world feel as if they have to have an answer for everything, you know, like me, because I'm always dropping the wisdomatic truth bombs and whatnot. But no, but
Yeah.
seriously, like I like
Spiritual guru over
yeah,
here.
no, but
That's uncomfortable
absolutely
on the ground. Coming
that's
back.
I love the idea of discovering, like, whereas I want to know as much as I can about the universe, and like I am someone that has a tremendous thirst for all these different things, right? That being said, I don't feel as if I need to have the answer. And that's what you generally find within religion. And
Yeah.
this is, by the way, I'm not making this stuff up. This is the theme of my entire YouTube channel, the podcast. You know, there is no religion higher than truth. And the whole idea of truth is the pursuit of truth. It like this approach.
Truth is just the pursuit of truth. There is no
There,
infinite truth. There's no definite truth
well, there are certain
because
things.
we are
This is
constantly
philosophical.
getting more knowledge.
That's true, but in terms, this is where it gets deep. In terms, like, there's certain things we know, and there's certain things that we try to have a better understanding of, like things that happened in the past. For instance, like this happened. I smacked you right there on the bottom, right? Very inappropriate. Now, are you what? There's no truth. Are you going to pretend that never happened because in your worldview there is no
it
truth?
didn't.
So,
That's my hip.
oh, you know. But the point is that happened. All right, it happened.
Yes.
The idea of saying there is no truth, you know, which some people try to allude to. Oh, everything is subjective.
Okay.
I'm like, well, not entirely, because there are certain things that happen. But I do
Fair.
respect your point. Like,
Yeah, I understand that. Yes.
yeah, all I'm
You
trying to
are
say
right.
is
I
that
am wrong.
rather than focusing on religion and the dogma, focus on trying to attain that which is true. The truth is not limited to any ideology,
The search for truth.
Absolutely. That's the whole path of the philosopher, lover of wisdom, knowledge. You know, try to understand, try to bring about an efflorescence of consciousness, and try to illuminate your mind.
I like
darkness.
that. Bring about an efflorescence of consciousness and try
Girls
to
be loving it when you drop
illuminate
those
your
big words.
mind.
Yes.
Whoa. That's some lyrical shit right there.
That's what I do here on the Crystal Journey podcast. Oh! Let's wrap it up. But before I do that,
you're gonna sing a song for us.
No. This is about you. This is about you, not about me. About you, Sabrina Velixray. What is your biggest ambition? What do you plan to do over the next 5 years? How do you want to shape the world? How do you want to impact this Euclidean meat space reality?
Again, I'm going to pause you and say I feel like when people do this, they pre-plan them so they have those answers to give straight away. This is one that I have the answer to, but I want to think how to word. So give me a moment. For me, over the next 5 years, I want to unlearn the things that I've led myself to believe are what I should do and who I should be, and instead become my truest self and align myself with my values. And as part of doing that, I've completely changed my job direction about 6 months ago, and recognize that what I want to do and what is so important to me is bringing people together. I don't want to say too much of what is coming and what I am doing.
Yeah, because I actually wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's interesting you're saying you didn't want it, because I know you do have a big project
I've
currently
shared
underway.
What the message is,
Okay.
and that there is a center involved. I've finished up business plans and put things and wheels into motion, but exactly what we're offering, I will say once we're open. But the message is there of bringing people together, connecting in whatever way we can through happiness and laughter and all the things that make us joyful. Just experiencing the world together. I want to help facilitate that. I want to help facilitate bringing beautiful things and beautiful people together.
I love and I respect that so much. My biggest aspiration, like what you're trying to do, is I want to inspire people. That's why music has always been my first love. But that being said, I love comedy. I like things that can move people, breathe life into them, as the word inspiration means. Whereas I do speak about a lot of knowledge, a lot of controversial topics on this kind of stuff that kind of appeals to the cerebral aspect of people, I think the best way to open people's minds is to first open their hearts. And I think when
100%.
you can infuse people with love, whether that be through music or through laughter, that's when they're in a state where they're able to learn. Because when you're in a state of fear, it's much more difficult to actually take on knowledge. And this is a well-known thing in psychology, like kids don't learn when they are in this fight or flight. In fact, when people are stressed out, you have this what you call the amygdala hijacking. Like you have this reptilian brain kick in, overtakes your conscious frontal lobe, and you start you start saying stupid things and then doing stupid things. And as opposed to when you are in a state of love, like when I always find whenever I was in high school, I was learning, I would always learn much better when I was sitting next to a really pretty girl like you, because I'd be like, oh, I gotta, be
How
all
did I
kind of
know
like,
that was coming?
no, because I would be happy,
that
and
it's
then
those micro things that you can't say that I'm attracted to, and you're still pushing those smooth lines.
no, this is just me being real, because I would work harder. I had this corny idea that by being smarter, even though the cool kids would always get all the hot girls, then I thought that I would be able to win the girl over.
Fuck those kids, by the way. I never said it in school, but fuck those kids.
Yeah, but I also definitely feel that when I'm in a state of happiness and love, like that, they're usually the best states in terms of
when you're the
learning
most
things.
reciprocal.
Yeah, and that's when I rock. Like I'm the kind of person that needs to be around inspiration and love, because that's what.
Because you're an artist. This is what we're talking about as well. About artists. We're ending now. Like, no, we're not.
Absolutely, no, but it is, because it's what drive. Like, to me, there's certain things that drive people. Some people, it's their family, the responsibilities. I got to provide for my mama, all that kind of stuff. I love the idea of, like, I love having a muse, something that I'm inspired by, working towards, whether that is a beautiful puppy dog, which I love, or some person that I'm completely enamored over, and it's like, oh, I want to be fucking amazing so that I can inspire them and I can be worthy of them. And I think
I was talking to someone about this today, actually, just before I was here. He was saying exactly the same thing. He was saying, I want to be great. I want to be everything so that I can inspire people. What if instead people just recognized how fucking great they already are and started inspiring people now? By doing that alone, you don't need an audience. You don't need a million people watching you. You can just accept yourself as you are in all of your beauty now and share that. And that's inspiring as fuck. Because otherwise, what are you inspiring people to do? For them to get a big audience and grow and work hard and blah, blah, blah too? What? And what happens if that's not the life that works for them?
Yeah. And
inspire people now, and you don't infuse love. Before you were saying, I want to infuse love into people. You don't infuse love, it's there. They just need to see it. People just need to see how fucking perfect they are, how incredible they are, how cute they are, how beautiful they are, how everything they are, and recognize that for it to shine. It's all there. In every person, it's all there. In the meanest, nastiest people I've ever met, I've seen love and beauty. It's there.
Absolutely.
It's there.
That's such a beautiful thing to end this on. I just wanted to say this, like, because I have this vision, and I often love sharing this. You may have come across this, right? But it's the concept of yin and yang, because and then the yin and yang, right, it's supposed to represent, us beings, we're complicated. We have this this feminine and masculine principle, darkness, light within us, and there is light within the darkness and darkness within the light. And when you were talking about this being within everyone, even the most ugly people, right? It's there. I believe that's true, and it comes down to which one you feed. Like there's this story of the two wolves, right? That are having this war within each person, and the one that wins is the one that you feed. If you're feeding this hatred and this ego, that's obviously going to
Going to
nourish.
grow.
Yeah.
This is like a quote that I sort of came up with a while ago, and I thought to myself in a moment, what if everybody is just on a different level of learning how to love each other? And we don't actually, it's just that people don't know how. We get into these negative loops where someone isn't taught when they're growing up how to love someone else, how to be kind to someone else. So they grow up and they're being nasty. And what kind of response do we give when someone's nasty? It's not love. We're not kind to those people. So how do they ever learn? How do they ever level up their heart and their love with the constant nastiness given back to them that they're giving to other people? It doesn't happen. And
But there
we're
is a
stuck.
line. Like you can't be a doormat. If someone comes and like slaps you on the ass or something like I do, you can't be like, oh, there's love. You got to be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing?
What
Smack
the fuck
you.
are you doing?
Absolutely.
You just
Otherwise,
want to be smacked. That's
no,
why
I'm
I
just
wanna
saying you
smack you
can't
back.
because a lot
I
of
know you. I
'cause-
know you.
no, I'm just saying like you obviously got to draw lines as well. And sometimes, unless you want to have this stuff reinforced, you have to set boundaries as to what is acceptable. Because this is something
Yes.
I deal with all the time. Like it's like I want to be sweet and charming to everyone, but then sometimes people take advantage of you, right? And they're like, oh, I can do anything to Chris Yule. He'll just crack a joke and just, he's not going to make any scene. But then it just allows them to
Puts it,
perpetuate that attitude.
to keep going. And that
Yeah.
is the hardest thing about giving love to people who don't know or haven't learned or aren't on the
Abuse
same
your love.
level of giving love back is that you to love someone completely in all of their darkness, you need to accept what comes along with that. And we have to stand up for ourselves and say what's not okay. And I haven't mastered the balance of I love you and I want to love you through everything. And that's not okay.
Ooh, this is we might have
That
to
is
say this for another
all.
time. Yeah, because it's like we're playing on like love, what I refer to as unconditional love, right? And it's like the whole tolerance thing. It's like, what do you tolerate someone even just because you love them? Do you tolerate all the horrible things they do? And I think we should leave that for part 2. We'll have to do this again another time. I try to keep these
Let's do
things
it.
around an hour, and you have been absolutely amazing.
And you're going to sing
you
for us now.
tolerated my abuse. This is about you.
Your abuse.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
This is
Stop
about
it.
you though, Sabrina. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear me serenade you, you're gonna have to come onto my TikTok. I'm on the TikTok and all the social medias and whatnot. But yeah, TikTok is where I do my serenading. You can find the
And
lovely.
Amigo.
Sorry,
And Amigo.
Domingo. What's
or
that?
something with the ladies of the I saw.
You saw
I'm
what?
calling you out. I saw you serenading random women online.
You've been stalking me, have you?
I have.
Stalker.
I
Don't worry, I'm
am.
stalking you too. You can find the lovely Sabrina. You call yourself Felix X-Ray. How did that come about? Got to give us an insight into your name.
I had a gamer name when I was really, really young. It's not an exciting story. And it was taken. And I was trying to think of a different name. And I came up with Velix.
Oh, it's
and,
Velix. I'm
and
saying
that was
Felix.
taken
All right,
too.
Velix.
And I just mushed them together.
Velix X-Ray. I thought it was X-Ray because you see into everyone's hearts and you're always you're breaking down and get them to be who they really are.
Boy, stop playing.
No, I'm
Stop
serious.
playing.
I thought it was something deep
I'm
like
a
that.
grown woman.
Yeah, but you're always like pulling all this. Oh, I know you're a sweet person. You're always trying to look into people's hearts and like, no, I'm not. And yeah, that seems to be your thing, Miss X-Ray girl, because it's Velix X-Ray, right?
Yeah.
All right. But ladies and gentlemen, you can check out Velix X-Ray on the Twitch, on the TikTok, and all the social medias. I'll put a link down below. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. Remember, there are 3 things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the beautiful Babylons of Velixray.
The truth is the third one. The truth. That's what he meant to say.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help
And
myself.
Babylons is a weird word. The most unsexy word ever.
I like it. Let us know if you disagree. I like Babylons. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for tolerating my nonsense.
Thank you.
All right.
Legends.
Let's do it. Let's end it. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun. I want to hear you sing. Are you going to sing for Twitch or do I have to turn it off?
Well.
Do it. I'm going to say hello to people once you're ended.
Everyone's intellectual here. They don't want to hear me. They don't want to hear me serenade you. That's gonna be.
Why don't you serenade them? Why don't you not serenade? Why don't you rock and roll? I've never seen rock and roll crucial.
Putting me on the spot. Fortunately, I don't blush, but I would be blushing right now if I was a white boy. But no, we will save the serenades for the TikTok. So come and check me out on TikTok, everyone. Boom shakalaka. Ow! Always end it with that.
Ow! What is that?
That's how I end my stream.